What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Itai, and today I have a really powerful game that shows you how amazing sacrificing material can be in chess, as Mikhail Tal goes ahead and sacrifices just a bunch of pieces, and it's really cool. So this game is Mikhail Tal using the white pieces against NN, which just means an unknown player, so we don't know his opponent, but it ends up being really cool. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. So the game began with Mikhail Tal going e4. We see the Sicilian defense. We see the trade on d4, and now a very common continuation developing piece knight to f6, knight to c3, defending the pawn over here in the center. And now black has a very common choice that they have to make, which is going and playing a6, which is the most common move, I believe, or at least it's a very high-level move, or instead going ahead and sticking to development and trying to fianchetto the bishop and castle quickly. Both are completely fine options. In the game, we end up seeing a6, and especially when you have pawns here on d6 and a knight on f6, notice that now this pawn really rarely can ever move to e5 because of the pawn. So this knight is a very good piece here, and that's really the reason why you end up going ahead and playing d6, is because you want to support the knight. And so once the knight is supported here and it's very stable, then you start to try to attack the center a little bit more heavily, because notice that right now, at least if we go back one move, it isn't looking that great for black when it comes to just controlling the center. And so you definitely want to go ahead and start attacking in the middle. And we see f4, which is a very powerful move because it prepares to go ahead and seemingly win the knight. Notice that now if pawn here, after the trade, it seems like you win the knight because obviously it's pinned. But the truth is you don't, because of a very beautiful move, which is queen to c7, the only saving move in the position. And the point is, after take, the queen has a beautiful fork here on e5, winning one of these pieces here, and it's just a very nice fork. I mean, if the queen decides to defend, obviously also the knight is hanging, so it's a very beautiful fork here in the middle of the board. In the actual game, we do not see this. Instead, in this position, we end up just seeing queen to e2 rather than taking the knight, because again, you'll run into that fork. The knight moves back in this position because now no longer is this fork possible because the queen is now on e2. We see castle, and in this position, I kind of want to stop the moves, and I want to just ask you a question. Do you think that white has potential to attack here? Because a lot of times, attacks are formed when you have a lot of pieces, and the king is unsafe, and there aren't a lot of pieces next to your opponent's king that can help defend. But here, notice that black has a lot of resources here, and so it seems very hard to try to form an attack. Even if you have some pieces to help you, it seems very difficult. But through some beautiful sacrifices, Mikhail Tal manages to find a beautiful way to attack, which begins with knight taking on e6. And obviously black doesn't have to take, but in this game, if you don't want to lose your queen, because obviously you can try and move like this, but then you lose your queen, so you're gonna have to move your queen, but that is a little bit unfortunate for black. So instead, taking seems like just a winning move, because it seems like there's no continuation once again because of how safe this king feels. But then you have queen to g4, which is just beautiful, attacking the pawn here, threatening a nasty attack. Especially now with the help that the rook is now open here on the d file. It seems like it's going to be very hard for black to defend, and so black tries to defend with the move queen to b6, defending the pawn here. But then we see another sacrifice, just beautiful, which is rook to d6, cutting the defense of this pawn, threatening once again for the queen to go here and take the pawn. And so black has to do something, and notice that if black takes the rook here, which I believe is actually one of the best moves, it's actually very losing for black, which is very funny because there really is no great defense here, because it's all going to tumble if you just do something random because of all these pieces here. So you definitely have to do something. So black tries to take the rook, but even this is not enough, because now you do a really nice queen taking on the king here rather than taking back. So you lost a full rook rather than the exchange. Obviously the king can move and then you can take back, but rather than taking back first, you first deliver this check, and then the king moves, and rather than taking back, now you end up sacrificing another bishop on c4, another piece on c4. And this is very, very hard for black to defend. There's a mating idea here on f7, and so black has to do something. If they take the bishop, which is what happened in the game, then you have rook to f1, beautiful move. Knight has to come over here and try to stop, but then you can just sacrifice, and mate is very quick with the queens and the bishops working very nicely here together. So this is a beautiful mate, and it all stems from realizing that, taking here the pawn allows for some nice possibilities with your pieces. And so it isn't always clear that you have an attack that's possible, but in this case, sacrificing here is definitely called for, and it's just a beautiful game I really wanted to show you. Make sure you guys go ahead down to the comments and leave what you thought of this game. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.